This week's episode is brought to you by NordVPN. Disney mountains are some of the most iconic theme park attractions of all time. Countless guests have memories of soaring through the galaxy on Space Mountain, careening through the West on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, and dropping into the Briar Patch on Splash Mountain. But for every Disney mountain that does exist in the world, countless others have been left on the drawing board at Imagineering, cancelled for a multitude of reasons. So today, we want to scale those mountains that were never built, explore what could have been, and mourn what never was. So join us as we coast around a dig site, scale a sickly sweet creation, soar around the inside of a volcano, and discover a futuristic mountain. For ReviewTyme, I'm Luke, and this is the story of 4 cancelled Disney mountains we sadly never got to explore. Disney's Animal Kingdom has had countless cancelled attractions over the years, but one of the earliest was the Excavator wooden roller coaster. Dino Land was originally set to contain 2 different rides, a family-friendly dinosaur dark ride, as well as a Roller King coaster ride through a section of the dig site supposedly too dangerous to enter. Dino Land USA has one of the most in-depth backstories of any theme park land in the world. Originally the site of a sand and gravel company, one day a massive dinosaur bone was accidentally uncovered, revealing countless dinosaur skeletons in the archaeological find of the century. The site was quickly snapped up by a wealthy benefactor, who employed a group of scientists and paleontology college students to call the dig site home over the summer, spending their days excavating this incredible find. The excavator itself was a series of ore and mineral carts left over from the initial gravel pit days of the site. However, over time, the sand and gravel began to shift, making the carts unsafe to operate, shutting them down. This was until the college students came along and decided to use the rusty old ore carts as a fun way to get around the site, and they were inviting you along for the ride. The experience would have began in a detailed queue, overrun with signs warning of the danger and condemned nature of the excavator. The ride itself would have been a traditional wooden roller coaster, with some Disneyfied elements, including a lift hill up the mountainous pile of dirt from the excavation, a moment where you zoomed through a massive dinosaur skeleton, and a finale where you came face to face with a folk art dinosaur sculpture that would have lurched towards the ore cart. The attraction would have added a desperately needed thrill ride to the opening day lineup of the park. Unfortunately, Disney bit off more than they could chew with Animal Kingdom, not quite realizing that when you build a park designed around real animals, a lot of your budget needs to be spent on things guests wouldn't even know existed. This caused the park's budget to balloon wildly, and executives looked to cut either Dino Land or Beastly Kingdom from the park. The Imagineers in charge of Dino Land made an unbeatable proposition: combine the 2 planned rides for Dino Land into one, and use the already existing track layout and ride system of the Indiana Jones adventure. Thus, we ended up counting down to extinction rather than riding on the excavator. Magic Kingdom style parks are home to most of the world's Disney mountains, but in the mid-1990s, the Magic Kingdom itself was going to build one of the most impressive cancelled mountains of them all. Fire Mountain would have been a towering mountain peak in Adventureland, set to be built in a previously backstage area and accessible via a winding canyon path that would have taken you between Pirates of the Caribbean and the Jungle Cruise and over the tracks of the Walt Disney World Railroad. This canyon path would have led to a base camp of Whitmore Enterprises, operated by Preston B. Whitmore, the millionaire philanthropist who finances the expedition to Atlantis in the 2001 Disney film Atlantis, the Lost Empire, with the entire Fire Mountain attraction set to be a sequel to the film. The ride within the mountain would have been one of the world's first flying coasters, utilizing the brand new Vekoma Flying Dutchman ride system. This would have allowed for the first half of the ride to be in a traditional seated coaster configuration, before halfway you would have switched track systems and swung up into the flying position for a race through the core of the mountain. Throughout the ride, you would have soared through mammoth caverns, rocketed past magma falls, and helplessly dived towards boiling lakes of lava. Set in 1916, 2 years after the end of the film, Whitmore Enterprises had created a brand new transport system that will take regular folk on the same journey of exploration to the city of Atlantis. For those guests daring enough to step on board, your journey would have climaxed in a very similar way to the film, in the heart of the volcano itself. Unfortunately, the ambitious lava mountain was dealt a hat trick of killing blows. First, Atlantis: The Lost Empire was a financial flop at the box office, struggling to make back its budget and failing to kickstart a new era of Disney animation as they had hoped. Secondly, Lava Mountain was designed as their answer to the brand new Islands of Adventure down the road. However, as we recently discussed in a video, it too failed right out of the gate. And Disney didn't feel the need to respond with something big and exciting of their own. And finally, the downfall of the tourism industry post 9/11 was the last massive nail in the coffin for Lava Mountain. With international borders slowly starting to reopen, we can't wait to travel again to all of the best theme parks in the world. Traveling, though, means we open ourselves up to the dangers of unsecured Wi-Fi networks in hotels, airports, and theme parks. Thanks to this week's sponsor, NordVPN, we're able to ensure our data and personal information remains private. NordVPN also works on up to 6 devices. So as someone who travels with countless pieces of tech, it's great that I can keep all of them safe when connecting online. VPNs aren't just for travel though. They also allow you to watch content from all around the world in the comfort of your own home. If you happen to live in a country where Disney Plus doesn't have star integration, using NordVPN you can change your virtual location with a click to somewhere like Australia, where I've recently been enjoying watching the entire series of Futurama, something unavailable on the US Disney Plus. Go to nordvpn.com/ReviewTyme or use code ReviewTyme to get a 2-year plan plus a bonus gift with a huge discount. And don't worry if you're not completely satisfied with the service, NordVPN offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. Let's get back to the mountains. The first Disney mountain to be cancelled would have also been the first ever Disney mountain. Rock Candy Mountain was being considered for Disneyland in the mid to late 1950s, set to be one of the first expansions for the park. The ride, as the name implies, would have taken place in a giant candy mountain, complete with towering lollipop trees. The mountain would have had several attractions worked into it, with the Casey Jr. Circus train wrapping up and into the mountain, and the Storybook Land canal boats sailing through the candy caverns below. Both attractions would have seen their finale inside the mountain, with elaborate scenes from The Wizard of Oz being depicted within, with Walt Disney recently securing the rights to L. Frank Baum's books. Imagineers constructed a model of the mountain out of real candy, where it was decided that something felt off about the idea, with famed Imagineer John Hench saying the ride looked sickly and unappealing, a tummy ache waiting to happen. A lesson they apparently didn't remember when building a certain cake castle for the Magic Kingdom. Walt agreed, and in its place, the first ever true Disney mountain, the Matterhorn, was built. Today at the Disneyland Resort, you can kind of see Candy Mountain though, as a window display at the Trolley Treats Confectionery on Buena Vista Street at Disney California Adventure, where a working model of the ride was built as a homage to the never-constructed attraction. Our final mountain for today would have been Disney's largest ever, not just containing an attraction, but an entire land filled with them. When constructing Disneyland Paris, the most ambitious Disney park of all time, Disney had plans for an entire pavilion called Discovery Mountain, where Space Mountain currently stands in the park. Inside the loosely Jules Verne mysterious island-themed land would have been a large number of attractions and experiences, creating an all-weather space for Discoveryland. Inside the mountain would have been a full-size Nautilus floating in a lagoon with a walkthrough and restaurant inside, the entrance to attractions such as Star Tours, a steampunk railway station for the Disneyland Railroad, and several unique experiences. First was Journey to the Center of the Earth, though this would have been a completely different ride to the one that would open at Tokyo Disney Sea. In this version, you would have journeyed to the depths below before being blasted out of the volcano in a ride utilizing the first-generation Intamin freefall ride system, which can be seen poking out the top of the volcano itself in concept art. The main attraction in the pavilion would have been Discovery Mountain itself, Disneyland Paris's unique version of Space Mountain, a thrilling coaster themed to From the Earth to the Moon, the Jules Verne novel. Guests would have been shot out of a space cannon and soared to the surface of the moon, with the majority of the ride taking place on the surface, zooming around craters and moon rocks before returning back to Earth. Ultimately, Disneyland Paris struggled financially from day one, and with Discovery Mountain purposefully being left to a Phase 2 of the park when expansion was required, Disney needed to add something to the flailing park, and quickly. And instead of the entire pavilion, Disney would rework the coaster concept into Space Mountain de la Terra et la Lune, arguably the best Space Mountain in the world, before it got dumbed down once for Mission 2, and even more so for Hyperspace Mountain. Disney mountains are the perfect family thrill rides, and these cancelled ones would have fit into the ever-expanding mountain range of Disney parks perfectly. Sadly, the history of Disney parks is just as much about budget cuts and cancellations as it is about attractions that actually opened. Thankfully, though, we can still admire the concept art and stories of what could have been. But what do you think? Which of these mountains would you want to have ridden the most? Let us know. Another big thanks to NordVPN for sponsoring this week's video. Be sure to check out our special offer, linked below. For the home of all things theme parks, I'm Luke for ReviewTyme. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If so, be sure to like and subscribe, and also tune into our podcast, ReviewTyme's Theme Park Cast, available on your podcasting platform of choice.